Dating in the modern world can be exciting, but it also comes with its fair share of risks. With the rise of apps like Tinder, we open ourselves up to meeting complete strangers, people whose lives and intentions are often mysteries. While most encounters end with a simple goodbye, some leave behind questions that are harder to shake. Tonight, we'll explore chilling stories of dating gone wrong. These are tales of fear, unease, and the unknown, proving that sometimes, trusting a stranger can have terrifying consequences. My name is Charlotte, and this is the story of the most terrifying encounter I've ever had. Like many people these days, I was using Tinder to meet new people. It felt safe enough, public places, plenty of information beforehand, and the ability to back out anytime. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened that night. It started innocently enough. I matched with a guy named Jones. He seemed charming, a little reserved, but that didn't bother me. His photos showed him hiking, reading, and playing guitar. His bio said he was looking for genuine connections, and after a few conversations, I decided to meet him in person. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe in the city. It was a cozy place, with dim lighting and the smell of freshly brewed coffee lingering in the air. I arrived first and picked a table near the window. When Jones walked in, he looked just like his photos, tall, well-dressed, and friendly. The conversation started smoothly. We talked about books, our favorite places to travel, and why we were both single. But as the night went on, I started to notice something odd. Jones would occasionally pause mid-sentence and glance over his shoulder, as if someone were standing behind him. His eyes would fix on empty spaces, and his lips would move slightly, like he was whispering to someone I couldn't see. At first, I thought he might have a nervous habit, but it kept happening. "Are you okay?" I finally asked, trying to keep my tone light. He blinked, as if snapping out of a trance, and smiled. "Yeah, of course. Why do you ask?" "You seem distracted," I said, glancing toward the spot he kept looking at. "Like you're talking to someone." The change in his demeanor was instant. His smile vanished, and his expression hardened. "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone sharp. "I'm sorry," I said quickly, trying to diffuse the tension. "I just noticed you looking around, that's all." He leaned in closer, his eyes narrowing. "I wasn't talking to myself," he said quietly, almost defensively. The energy in the room shifted. Suddenly, the cozy cafe felt stifling. I glanced around, but no one else seemed to notice how uncomfortable things had become. "I think I should go," I said, standing up. Jones reached out, grabbing my wrist. "Wait," he said, his grip firm but not painful. His voice was low and urgent. "You don't understand." "Let me go," I said, louder this time. Heads turned, and he finally released me. I grabbed my bag and walked out as calmly as I could, my heart racing. My name is Marla, and I always considered myself cautious when it came to online dating. I followed all the usual rules: meet in public, let a friend know where you're going, and trust your instincts. But nothing could have prepared me for the night I met a man named Simon. We matched on Tinder about a week before. Simon's profile was unremarkable: pictures of him with friends, a dog, and a bio that said he was into hiking and good coffee. His messages were friendly, and he didn't seem pushy or overly forward, which I appreciated. After a few days of chatting, we decided to meet at a trendy bar downtown. The kind of place that's busy enough to feel safe but quiet enough for a conversation. I arrived first and took a seat at the bar. Simon showed up a few minutes later, smiling and apologizing for being late. He looked just like his pictures, which was reassuring. At first, everything seemed fine. We ordered drinks, exchanged small talk, and laughed about the awkwardness of first dates. But as the evening went on, something about Simon started to feel off. He asked a lot of personal questions, more than what felt normal for a first date. Do you live alone? What kind of locks do you have on your doors? Do you have a security system? He tried to frame it as curiosity about city living, but it felt invasive. When I deflected or changed the subject, he'd smile and say, "Sorry, I'm just curious," but the questions kept coming. At one point, he leaned in and said, "You seem like someone who's hard to find once they disappear." I froze. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. He laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh, it was sharp, almost mocking. "Nothing," he said. "Just an observation." I excused myself to go to the bathroom, my heart pounding. I texted a friend, telling her where I was and asking her to call me with an emergency. When I came back, Simon was staring at my drink, swirling it with his finger. "I hope you don't mind," he said, smiling. I added a little something to make it more fun. My stomach dropped. "What did you put in my drink?" I demanded, my voice louder than I intended. His smile faltered, but he quickly recovered. "Relax, I'm kidding. Can't you take a joke?" I didn't believe him. I grabbed my bag and stood up. "I think I'm done here," I said, trying to sound confident despite the panic bubbling inside me. Simon stood up too, blocking my path. "Don't be like that, Marla," he said, his voice low and threatening. My name is Deborah, and this story still sends chills down my spine whenever I think about it. I've always been cautious about meeting people from dating apps. I follow all the basic rules, meet in public, share my location with a friend, and trust my gut. But sometimes, even when you think you've done everything right, things can go horribly wrong. I matched with a guy named Eric on Tinder. He seemed nice enough, average looking, a bit shy in his messages, but polite. His profile said he was into photography and nature, which made me think he was probably calm and introverted. After a few days of chatting, he suggested we meet up for coffee. I agreed, and we chose a small, cozy cafe in a busy part of town. The place had large windows, lots of natural light, and was usually packed with people, which made me feel safe. I got there a bit early and found a table near the back, where I could see the whole room. Eric arrived right on time, smiling nervously as he sat down. He looked just like his pictures, tall, with glasses and a slightly awkward demeanor. We started talking, and at first, everything seemed fine. He asked me about my work, my hobbies, and we joked about the weird world of online dating. But about 15 minutes in, I started noticing little things that didn't sit right with me. His eyes would dart around the room, as if he were looking for someone. He kept glancing at his phone, which was face down on the table but would vibrate every few minutes. When I asked if everything was okay, he just smiled and said, "Yeah, sorry, it's nothing." As the conversation went on, Eric started asking me strange questions. "Do you believe in fate?" he asked out of nowhere. I shrugged and said, "I guess, to some extent." He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Do you ever feel like some people are meant to meet for a reason?" I laughed awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood. "Well, I guess that's the whole point of dating apps, right?" Eric didn't laugh. Instead, he just stared at me, his expression unreadable. "You don't get it," he said quietly. At this point, I was starting to feel uncomfortable. I tried to steer the conversation back to something normal, but Eric's behavior only got stranger. He began talking about how he felt like he'd seen me before, even though we'd never met. "It's like, I don't know," he said, running a hand through his hair. "Like I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." I decided I'd had enough. I told him I wasn't feeling well and needed to leave. He stood up with me, his smile returning. "Let me walk you to your car," he offered. "No, it's okay," I said quickly. "I'll be fine." He insisted, but I managed to politely refuse. I left the cafe and walked quickly to my car, glancing over my shoulder every few seconds. When I got in, I locked the doors immediately and started the engine. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I saw Eric standing by the cafe window, watching me. He had his phone in his hand, and he was smiling. Dating apps have become a part of our everyday lives, connecting us in ways we never thought possible. But as these stories show, not every connection is what it seems. Whether it's a strange comment, an unsettling behavior, or an encounter that defies explanation, it's a reminder to always trust your instincts and stay vigilant. Thank you for joining me tonight. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.